The auditorium lights dimmed just a little, and a calm silence washed over the enormous AGT studio. The audience, packed from wall to wall, sat buzzing with the usual energy. But there was something different that night. Even the judges seemed more attentive than usual. Simon Cowell leaned forward with his hands folded, a look that could only be described as curious but also cautious. Heidi Klum tapped her fingers lightly on the panel, and Howie Mandel was watching with the kind of expression he wore when he sensed something special was about to happen. The stage doors parted slowly, and out walked a kid. Not a teenager, not a young adult, but an actual kid, small, humble, the kind who carried a shy smile that could melt even the coldest heart. His feet moved with quiet steps as he reached the center of the stage. The audience let out a soft gasp. Not because of anything flashy but because there was something different about this child. Something unshakable. A sense of calm. A sense of purpose. A sense of pride. His name wasn't mentioned by the announcer with any dramatic flair. He simply introduced himself with the gentle voice of a child, saying he came from the Philippines and that he wanted to honor something very important to him. When Simon raised an eyebrow, it wasn't skepticism. It was curiosity. What could a kid like this possibly perform on such a massive stage? The boy stood there with his hands clasped in front of him, and when Simon asked what he would be performing, the studio leaned in. The child took a breath, not heavy, not trembling, but full of respect. He said he would be singing Lupang Hinirang, the national anthem of the Philippines. The moment those words left his lips, the entire room shifted. The judges exchanged looks. Some audience members murmured in surprise. You simply do not hear national anthems performed on AGT, let alone by a child. And absolutely no one expected that a Filipino kid would come all the way to America, stand on that giant stage, and choose not to show off a pop song, not to belt out a ballad, but to honor his country's identity for the world to witness. Simon leaned back in his seat, and you could see it on his face. He was intrigued, maybe even unsure where this would go. But the boy didn't wait for more approval. He nodded respectfully toward the judges, closed his eyes for a moment, and placed his hand over his chest. That simple gesture sent shockwaves through the entire building. Even before he began, you could feel it, the sense that this wasn't just a performance. This was a moment. When his first note came out, the room froze. It wasn't loud. It wasn't theatrical. It was pure, clear, trembling with emotion but steady with purpose. The sound of Lupang Hinirang filled the AGT stage in a way no one had ever heard before. Each word was pronounced with crisp precision, each note carried deep reverence, and every breath seemed to echo across continents. His voice had the tone of someone who understood the weight of what he was singing, even though he was only a kid. Audience members began to stand. Not because they were told to, not because they felt obligated, but because something inside them moved. You could see Filipinos in the audience wiping tears even before the first verse was complete. The camera panned to a woman clutching her necklace, another whispering the lyrics along softly. A man in the back row had his eyes closed, swaying slightly as if he were suddenly back home thousands of miles away. It didn't matter where in the Philippines they came from, Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, at that moment, they were one. United by the voice of a child they had never met. Simon Cowell didn't move, his eyes stayed locked on the boy, and there was something happening behind those usually sharp and critical eyes. Something melting, something shifting. If you've ever watched Simon judge, you know it takes a lot, an extraordinary amount, for him to get emotional. But this boy was breaking through. Not because of vocal acrobatics, not because of fireworks, but because of sincerity. Authenticity, patriotism, and heart. As the boy continued, his voice seemed to gain strength. It grew fuller, richer, more confident, as if the anthem itself was lifting him higher. The long notes soared with dignity. The soft parts whispered with pride. There were moments when the camera captured audience members simply frozen, their eyes wide, their hands over their hearts. Others were biting their lips, trying not to cry. But the tears still came. They came because Lupang Hinirang isn't just a song. It's a symbol, a promise, a remembrance of history, sacrifice, and the unbreakable spirit of a nation. Behind the judges' table, Simon blinked, slow, deliberate. He swallowed, the slightest hint of glossiness appearing in his eyes. Heidi brought her hand to her chest. Sofia Vergara leaned forward, shaking her head lightly as if she couldn't believe what she was hearing. Howie Mandel, often the most analytical judge on the panel, simply whispered wow. And the boy didn't even see their reactions. He kept his eyes lifted, singing as though the anthem deserved nothing less than his full and undivided respect. When he reached the anthem's climactic final lines, something grand unfolded. His voice lifted higher than anyone expected. It wasn't overpowering, but it carried a sense of hope, as if he weren't just singing for himself or for the judges, but for every Filipino, every overseas worker, every parent longing for home, every child dreaming big, every hero who fought for freedom. That last note rang through the studio like a bell, clear and unbroken, echoing far beyond the walls of the AGT stage. As the final word left his lips, the entire auditorium stood. Not slowly, not politely, instantly, a full standing ovation erupted like thunder. Clapping, cheering, whistles, tears, everything all at once. Filipinos waved small flags they had brought with them. Others simply clapped with their hands over their hearts. It was overwhelming and powerful, a moment that felt bigger than the show itself. The boy stood still. He didn't smile widely. He didn't cheer. He simply bowed. A deep, respectful bow. And that gesture alone made the applause even louder. The camera turned to Simon Cowell, who exhaled long and slow, trying to gather himself. He looked at the boy with a softness rarely seen on his face. Finally, the applause died down just enough for Simon to speak. His voice came out quieter than usual. I've judged this show for many years, he said, and I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like that. He paused, almost searching for the right words. It takes courage to stand on this stage, but what you did required something even greater. Pride, heart, respect, and you sang with so much purity and sincerity that it moved every single person in this room. Heidi added that the performance gave her goosebumps from the first note to the very last. Sofia told the boy that he had done something incredibly beautiful, not just as a singer, but as a person. Howie said he had never seen an anthem sung with so much emotional clarity and that the young performer had reminded everyone of what patriotism really meant. But it was Simon's next words that stunned the room. He leaned forward and said, "You didn't come here to impress. You came here to honor something important to you. And in doing so, you impressed the whole world." That line alone sent the audience into applause again. And then Simon did something no one expected. He pressed the golden buzzer. The room exploded. Golden confetti burst from above like a shower of sunlight. The boy looked up, shocked, his eyes wide as the glitter rained down on him. The judges stood. The crowd roared. Filipinos in the audience screamed with pride and joy, some waving flags, others crying openly. The boy's face slowly broke into a smile, small at first, then growing into something bright and genuine. He brought his hands together again in front of his chest, as though he wanted to thank everyone all at once. Simon walked onto the stage, a rare moment, because he usually stays behind the judges' panel. He approached the boy with a gentle smile and placed a hand on his shoulder. Cameras captured the moment up close. Simon's expression was soft, almost fatherly, a look that the world rarely sees from him. He told the boy that what he did took immense bravery and that his country would be proud of him. The boy nodded, his voice small and filled with emotion as he thanked Simon, not with arrogance but with humility. Backstage, as the boy was being interviewed, he explained why he chose to perform Lupang Hinirang. He said that even though he was young, he understood what the anthem stood for. He said he wanted people around the world to hear it, to feel it, to know that the Philippines is a place of strength, courage, and heart. He said he wanted to honor his parents, who taught him to be proud of his heritage, and to honor all Filipinos everywhere, especially those who worked abroad, sacrificing so much for their families. He said he wanted to represent them with dignity. The clip instantly went viral. Within hours, millions had watched it. Filipinos worldwide shared the moment with captions expressing pride and emotion. Overseas workers posted videos of themselves crying as they watched. Parents said they showed the clip to their children to remind them of the importance of loving their roots. Even people from other countries commented about how moved they were, saying that they had never felt so emotional watching a national anthem from a nation they weren't even part of. Music experts talked about the surprising level of vocal control the boy displayed for someone his age. They noted how he didn't oversing the anthem or try to add excessive runs, which made it even more powerful. His purity, they said, was the strength of the performance. Teachers praised him for respecting the anthem deeply. Filipino artists and celebrities reposted the clip with their own messages of pride. Some said that the boy had given the world a glimpse of Filipino identity in its purest form. In the Philippines, news outlets covered the story with excitement. Morning shows replayed the clip, analyzing the crowd's reaction, Simon's emotional response, and the significance of a Filipino kid performing Lupang Hinirang on such a global stage. Radio shows discussed how the moment wasn't just a performance but a statement. A reminder of unity, a reminder of heritage. Even politicians publicly praised the boy, thanking him for representing the nation with such grace. But perhaps the most touching reactions were from everyday Filipinos, who wrote messages online saying the boy had made them feel seen, heard, and represented. That his performance had invoked memories of home, memories of school flag ceremonies, memories of grandparents who told stories of struggle and resilience, memories of moments when Filipinos stood together, no matter how far apart they lived. As the days went on, the clip continued to spread, eventually reaching people who never even watched AGT. It became more than a viral moment. It became a cultural landmark, one of those rare times when entertainment crosses over into history. And at the center of it was a kid, a Filipino kid who walked onto a stage with nothing but his voice, his heart, and his love for his homeland. The boy returned to AGT for the next round, but people already viewed him differently. He wasn't just a contestant. He was a symbol. He walked on stage with the same quiet humility, but the crowd reacted with roaring applause even before he began. Simon greeted him with warmth, reminding him again of how special his first performance had been. And every time he performed afterward, there was always a moment, a glance from Simon, a tearful audience member, a whispered Lupang Hinirang, that reminded everyone of the anthem that had moved the world. The finale of the season approached, and although the competition was fierce, the boy remained one of the most talked about contestants. People admired his talent, yes, but they admired his spirit even more. He had shown the world that representing your culture isn't about throwing flashy colors or shouting loudly. Sometimes it's about something as simple and powerful as singing your national anthem with unwavering respect. And through him, the world saw a glimpse of what it means to be Filipino, resilient, humble, courageous, and full of heart. When the season ended, whether he won or not mattered far less than the impact he had made. His performance lived on in countless reaction videos, tributes, reposts, and personal stories shared by Filipinos around the globe. Teachers used the video in classrooms. Families watched it together. Children said they wanted to sing Lupang Hinirang with the same courage he had shown. Even AGT fans who had never heard the anthem before said they couldn't forget its melody or the way the boy had performed it. And now, months later, his performance remains one of the most replayed AGT clips online, a reminder of a night when a child with unwavering patriotism changed the atmosphere of an entire studio. A reminder that music isn't only about entertainment. Sometimes it's about identity. Sometimes it's about honoring those who came before you. Sometimes it's about showing the world who you are and where you come from. This boy didn't walk onto that stage to become a star. He walked onto that stage to honor his country. And because of that, he became a star anyway. A different kind of star. One that shines not for himself, but for his people. So if you are Filipino watching this right now, know that the world saw what the boy represented. The world felt it, the world heard it, and the world will remember it. Thank you for watching. If you want more stories like this, filled with heart, passion, and incredible talent, make sure to join us again. And as always, stay inspired, stay proud, and never forget where you come from.